Hello, everyone, and welcome back after a long absence, like months and months, to Knockdown Sports Radio. I am Chris Callicutt, as always, joined by my partner in crime, Mr. Cody Teague. What up, what up, homie? What up, homie?
What's up, man, dude? Good to be back. Good to be back. This is nice. I got the stairwell as the background, and I got a puppy here, and I'm ready to go, man. Let's chat and see how many people we can make mad.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the goal here. We're going to take the Barstool Sports approach, which we'll talk about later. Not really,
absolutely.
But we're our own flavor. But here's the thing, man. All right, so we're back here live because I am no longer a part of the Wrestling Inc. podcast. But guess what? I voluntarily took myself off, though. That's the thing. I have a 4.5-month-old, newly born since the last Knockdown Sports Radio podcast. You have a new house and a new puppy. So you essentially have a couple of new babies. We both have like 50-hour-a-week day jobs. So if we can fit in an hour on a Friday night, fantastic. But does not exactly make for flexible schedules for, post Raw podcasts at 11:30, a random Wednesday afternoon whenever I have actually off of work, But so I voluntarily took myself off of that. I love everybody over at Wrestling Inc. I'm still going to do the social media, still going to do pay-per-views, and still going to do NXT. So we worked out a new deal to where I'm just cutting out the podcast and sticking to my guns, so to speak. But in this episode, a lot of people are going to be telling us to stick to sports, Cody.
Hashtag stick to my dog drinking a bowl of water next to me right now while I'm trying to be a professional.
Another reason why we can't have, professional podcasts.
This is why we can't have nice things, period.
Dishwasher on this side, right? Washer and a dryer on this side, both going right now. And we have puppies.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. But, yeah, no, it's good to be back. I hate that it came to the point with what's going on with Wrestling Inc. But, hey, that's what we're here for. We're here to make beautiful, beautiful magic.
Something
like that.
Something like that. So to bring back an old segment, is that Paxton or Lolo, by the way?
That's Paxton, man. This is Paxton. He's loud, dude. He's loud.
Okay, so good. He's a good dude. I like Paxton.
Oh yeah, my dogs are the best. They're part of the show, man. It just comes with the territory.
Exactly. So we're gonna bring back an old segment that we like to call Pop Tops. Cody, do the honors, my friend.
Yeah, I got you, man.
Oh, yes. Hopefully that came through nicely on the airwaves. But
if not, they get the idea. It's okay.
Exactly. Cody pops one open as we get into a bit of a, dare I say, gray area topic, not black and white. No.
Well, I mean, depends on who you're talking, man. I hate. This is why I'm here. You're politically correct, and I'm here to mess things up.
Well, actually, I had that joke in the back of my mind for 20 minutes, man. I didn't even know about that. That's how it works. Exactly. I mean, all right. So let's run down the situation here. You have some recent tweets by ESPN personality and SportsCenter 6 host Jamele Hill calling the President of the United States, Mr. Donald J. Trump, a white supremacist. And then earlier on, a couple weeks ago, well, actually a few weeks ago now, ESPN personality and radio host Ryen Russillo was on vacation in, I believe, like Montana, somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, and walked into somebody else's condo naked, drunk, and passed out on their bed. Now, all right, which one's worse, Cody, in your opinion? Which one is worse, number one?
Well, in my opinion, Russillo is worse. I mean, to me, there's no question about it because Jamele Hill made a statement. Ryen Russillo did an action, and actions are always worse than words to me. And when you go around you know, with your bird flying around everywhere while you're on vacation, that's worse, right? I understand. Jamele Hill should have never used the words white supremacist in what she said. That, by all means, that's the one thing that she said that was completely wrong. But she's not going to get in trouble, as we've learned. She was on SportsCenter last night. Ryen Russillo got suspended with pay, so it ain't like they even did anything to him.
Yeah.
I mean, the next thing I want to say, and it can lead to you, is ESPN is like, I don't know, possibly the worst network to ever exist because they can't pick a side, and when they do, they don't know how to defend themselves.
No, ESPN backs themselves in corners all the time. One side or the other. You know, people have been calling them out for a liberal agenda for several years now. I mean, on Time Hop the other day, I had a CT Sports Report tweet from like 3 years ago.
Ooh,
and I know, right? And it said something about ESPN and their, you know, stick to sports, literally, is what I said. I mean, it was the beginning of the stick to sports era. And with ESPN, they try to toe the line and keep everybody happy. Do they tend to lean left still, in my opinion? A little bit, yeah. But a little bit. I mean, not nearly as bad as I think they were. But then you see situations like this to where they try, in the Russillo situation, it was more or less a slap on the wrist, right? And they try to do the general younger white dude crowd happy as well. Now, in both cases, this is what's happened. Jamele Hill, whether forced or not forced, did tweet out an apology and stated that although she believes what she said, it's not necessarily the views of the company, and she apologizes for that.
Completely forced. We can go ahead and say that, but continue.
Okay. And with Russillo, I was listening live on his first day back on my way home from work, and he did a public apology on air and basically owned up to what he did. And again, was that forced? Yeah, probably. Did he sound sincere? Also, yes, because he got made look like an absolute fool. I mean, when you're not necessarily one of the highest up guys in the world and probably one of the lower rated programs on that network, I mean, you don't have a ton of room because you lost your bread, you know, your money ticket. He lost SVP a couple of years ago. And then him and Danny Cannell had a nice job going. I thought they had a pretty good program. But now he's riding solo since Cannell got cut with the ESPN cuts. So it's been a wild ride for Russillo, man. And I'm not trying to be sympathetic toward the guy because he made a terrible decision. But just these two unfortunate situations, like where they had to cover their own behind, and they try to make everybody happy. And unfortunately, just like with any situation, I lean a little bit more right, you lean a little bit more left, and they're trying to appease us all, and it really does nobody any favors because you're going to have one side mad at you all the time.
Yeah, and I guess that's where I come in with my whole hashtag stick to sports. I mean, you can't really use that anymore because it just came out today that J.J. Watt raised $37 million for Hurricane Harvey. Sports, he needs to stick to doing community work. But that's the difference between when people say stick to sports with us saying, all right, there's no reason to start talking about Donald Trump on ESPN. You know, we'll touch on that later. But a difference between people actually doing something in the community. Like Chris Paul does so much for the Winston-Salem area where you and I are from that it's not even funny. He runs a clinic there every year. He constantly builds stuff and does stuff for that community up there. It's crazy. If you're not sticking to sports that way, that's fine. I don't have anything wrong with what Jamele said. Of course, I agree with it. Besides the white supremacy part, you know, we won't go into my politics, but that's besides the point. He sucks. Right. Anyway, but the thing that
I think you actually did just go into it just a little bit.
You wasn't supposed to notice that, but that's besides the point. But the thing is, though, is if you and I was to get on Twitter and start talking about stuff, you know, I don't know, like this. I mean, anything you put out there is there for anybody to read.
Right.
And if you get in trouble for it, that's your own fault. You know who you're employed by. You know your level of where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Know what you were supposed to say and do. And for Jamele, my thing is whether I agree with you or not, look who you work for and look what you're supposed to do and say.
Right. And here's my thing too, is if me or you said the same thing that Jamele Hill said, you work for a very reputable, fairly large company.
Mm-hmm.
I work in the private country club industry with lots of wealthy folks. Extremely humble and down to earth and loving people, but they're not hurting. I mean, that's just easy to say that, right? And if I was to say that and it got back to some of my membership and then in turn got back to some of my management, then I would be toast. And, you know, you have to look out for, again, I've got a four-month-old little boy in there. And if he starts crying, I apologize during the show, but I've got to look out for my best interest no matter how I feel. But you've got to toe those lines to where you have to be professional. And she unfortunately got caught in a heated moment, let it slip in the public knowledge, and off she went. So.
And there's really nothing more you need to say. I mean, it was a lack of judgment. Like I said, even though I agree with her, besides the white supremacy thing, she went too far on that. But again, you have to know who you work for. You have to know your job. People are constantly watching you all the time. I mean, I just spoke to my wife earlier. Some girl who worked at a correction office or correctional facility got fired because she retweeted something for the Insane Clown Posse, and their fan base is considered a gang.
Right.
With the FBI.
Excuse me. Woo. Oh my God. Right.
Oh, what was that, dude? Grow up.
I don't know, man.
You have to know what you're doing. And ESPN, they're just awful. I mean, with everything they've done, the only reason they get all the coverage they do in the first place is because, like I said during mine, yours, and Phil's conversation on Twitter the other day, is that they're a
monopoly, essentially.
Yeah, they cover every single sport,
except
for the Premier League, which NBC has, and the NFL, which they still get one game a week. I mean, that's the thing, but we have to endure that because they're the only covers everything we want to see.
Yeah, and God bless Fox Sports and NBC Sports and, you know, whatever else, all these new cable channels. They're not going to compete no matter how hard they try. They try to buy off all these big personalities, but you're never going to compete with the mothership. It's called that for a reason, and it'll stay that way. But speaking of our president, apparently he does not like to be called a white supremacist, apparently. And knowing him, he will start calling ESPN fake sports news. That's not exactly come out of his mouth yet, but he did indeed tweet about it earlier today, where Donald J. Trump, at Real Donald Trump, on Twitter said, quote, ESPN is paying a really big price for its politics and in quotations and bad programming. People are dumping it in record numbers, which is technically true with the cord cutting, but it's not just necessarily to ESPN. And he says, apologize for untruth. So, opening up a can of worms, if you look back at his Twitter several times during the reign of Mr. Barack Obama, the word racist or supremacist, that type of stuff was thrown around pretty regularly, Cody.
I mean, it's no secret I don't like the guy. It's ridiculous. But
and wait, is it me or am I actually agreeing with you right here, which is weird? It's weird.
You are semi agreeing with me.
Okay.
Because I know I go a whole nother level to where you don't necessarily do that. But my thing is that when it came to sports, Bro Obama or Joe Obama with Joe Biden there.
Mm-hmm.
They had the championship teams come and visit. Bracket one time a year. That was all you ever heard.
Yep, and everybody went. Now you're hearing all these things. Nobody wants to go to the White House.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't. I don't think it's a race thing at all. I'll say that it has nothing to do with race to me, in terms of why no one wants to. It's the state of everything that we're having to endure right now. It's ridiculous. It's just because the thing that people always say is like, well, Obama went to vacation in Hawaii and all that stuff. Well, he's outspent Obama with security in the time he's been president than Obama's whole term.
Well, God bless him. He needs it, or he'll end up. Mike Pence will be the next president of the United States, but that's for another day.
Yeah. So, but I mean, it's so many things happen. No matter if it was Hillary that won or Donald that won, we'd have been in a crappy situation because, face it, us as Americans, we don't like each other. The whole racism thing is finally starting to come out. And what can you do?
60, 70 years later, after a slight dead period, I mean, granted, it's never left. And I agree with that. I'm not going to be one of these idiots who says, "Oh, it's if you leave it alone, it'll go away." And no, I'm not going to say that. It's always there in one form or fashion. Do I agree with some of the stuff that's going on with let us remove everything in God's name? Is not really in God's name, but you know what I'm saying. It's in Southern culture and everything like that. No, I don't necessarily agree with that because if be honest with me, if you was to walk by, right, a statue of Robert E. Lee, would you go try to just knock it down out of hate, or would you just walk past it and not notice it?
I would probably walk past it and be like, you know what?
Screw that guy.
Crappy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it is. I read something today, and let me touch on a here. But I read something that's like, you don't see any statues of Hitler in Germany.
Well, no.
So
they don't.
I mean, there you go. That's really all you need to say.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, you didn't like that. You didn't like that at all.
No, that was a little touchy. I can't come back with that one. I can't come back for that one. But I mean, look, Trump has better things to be doing than criticizing media and ESPN, and we all know that. That's why he has his political team to do his job for him, essentially, and he just makes some fairly bad decisions. I will agree with that wholeheartedly. But he needs to do what I do, right? On Wrestling Inc. podcast, Wrestling Inc. coverage, I have a few detractors, a couple, that aren't real fans of me, my personality, my form of wit. But do I reply to them and say, you suck, you're wrong, go away? No. I actually send them like a winky face and say, thanks for the compliment or something like that. I mean, I try to put it back on them, right? And try not to take things personally. He's got better things to do. He shouldn't take these things personally. But unfortunately, the White House PR person doubled down on this today during her speech, or I guess daily briefing or whatever you want to call it, and basically said, yes, ESPN should be more professional and watch what their employees say and that kind of thing. So, but that's pretty much the end of that. But he's got to be a little more careful with what he's doing.
I agree. Let's end it with this. He needs to watch what he says. Jamele needs to look at who she works for. And people just need to be happy. I mean,
no kidding. No kidding. I mean, that would solve a lot of problems.
I mean, because the main thing is, and this may or may not be the next thing, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up for a happier topic. The NFL's back, man. I mean, the NFL is back.
And you know what, Cody? J.J. Watt was a beast. But you know who else is a beast, man? Our boy Orlando Castillo.
That's right.
Friend of the program. He is now a Beast Sports Nutrition sponsored athlete, which is extremely awesome. We've known height, right? Like 5'9", but the dude's like 210, solid muscle.
He seriously could not fit through a door width-wise because he is stacked.
Oh my God! But
hashtag real news. All right.
Exactly, and he sticks to sports, and he's actually getting into the CrossFit stuff. But today we're talking about Beast Sports Nutrition. He has let me try out a couple of the products. One that I thought was pretty awesome was their BCAA, their chain amino acids for muscle endurance recovery. He gave me one of those after work one day. Dude, that stuff was like sweet, smooth. Like some of these things, when you take supplements, they're sort of like grainy and kind of nasty tasting. This was extremely good. They also have really cool stuff like Super Test Testosterone Booster, and they have a really good extreme pre-workout called Beast Mode Black. Now, here's what you do, guys. Go to beastsports.com, try out all those products I just said, and they have a ton more. Plus, they have really cool gear, nice, cool logo and color scheme as well. So you're going to look good. You're going to feel good. And this is what you do when you go to beastsports.com. You type in the promo code Orlando15, that is Orlando15 at checkout. So Beast Sports Nutrition, check them out and feed the beast.
Absolutely. Well said, Chris, and I'm glad we get a little shout out for Orlando there, but yeah, let's keep it going, man.
Boy, there you are. Uh-oh. Hold on.
There we go. You're back.
All right, fantastic.
Woo.
So,
made me nervous. I was going to thought I was going to have to put the show on my back for a little bit.
I mean, you do need to do some squats or something, probably. I mean, you need to be a beast. But with that said, JJ Watt he looked like the old JJ Watt last night, man. Coming off a really bad opening week, losing to Jacksonville, that being the Houston Texans. They scratched and clawed their way to beat the Bengals, who seemed like they were declawed, or at least Andy Dalton.
Well, my thing is, and rumor has it today that before the weekend's out, their offensive coordinator will be fired because you can't go the first 2 weeks in the NFL without scoring a touchdown. And he's
already been fired as of this afternoon.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
NFL team. And you're one of the mid-level, sometimes upper level, depending on how many people you got coming in and out of jail. And you can't score a touchdown in the first 2 games with the Red Rocket at the daggone helm there. I just don't get it.
And I mean, I do have AJ Green on my fantasy team, which I'm playing you this week, by the way. And AJ Green pretty much laid an egg thanks to Andy freaking Dalton. So I was counting on 20 points. He gave me like 6.
Well, I was counting on Tyler Eifert for a red zone touchdown. That didn't happen either.
No.
I mean, the Bengals right now, every single team in the NFL scored a touchdown except them.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Cincinnati. You are letting Harambe down hard.
Oh, man. I wish your connection wasn't so spiffy and we could hear everything that you're saying. Because there's some pure gold in there, ladies and gentlemen. But so, all right, last night, Thursday night game, recording this on a Friday night, the Houston Texans, Cincinnati Bengals. Granted, these teams are not expected to, either one of them really, probably expected to go over 500 or really compete in their division. But do you think it was a product of being a Thursday night game? Because these Thursday night matchups, even though they're not giving us the high-quality teams as of now, the quality of the game has not been good. And could that be to the short practice week? Could it be to short week injury recovery? Just what's your thoughts on Thursday night games in general?
Well, my thing is, especially with the Houston Texans, they had 20 players on the injury list last night.
All of their tight ends.
One. They suited one tight end.
Did they? I thought they had offensive linemen playing tight end.
According to the NFL Network, they had one tight end suited and 3 wide receivers.
That's yeah.
You can't do anything with that. And
they won.
Well, I mean, yeah, they won. But the thing is that Next week is the San Francisco 49ers versus the LA Rams.
Woo. I am definitely
tuning
into that one.
Comment on that, but the NFL is, listen, the people going to the stadium is declining unless you're in one of these high money market teams.
Yeah.
Unless you're in New York, Atlanta, because they have a new stadium, is the only reason they'd be selling out right now. Oakland Raiders, wherever they go, the black and silver follow. They're the same way. And then the Cowboys, because, I don't know, they're America's team for some reason. But unless you're in one of those markets, they're not selling games. If you go back and look at the LA Chargers game last week, that stadium was terrible.
And they gave them another freaking team. I mean, they now have 2 teams and nobody to watch either one of them. Yeah, so it makes no sense to me because, one, it's kind of as bad as the preseason. Preseason should be 1 or 2 games or no games at all. And Thursday night games shouldn't exist because if they want us to enjoy these athletes that they pay millions and millions of dollars to be on the television to help bring in revenue, then you need to make sure they're not hurt. OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., who he's out, he's got a 6 to 8 week injury. He's on week 3. I tune in to watch him play. If the Giants are on TV, they're on my TV. So, I mean, hold on. Okay, go back to your OBJ stuff. I lost you for a half a second.
Okay, the OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. If he is on the TV, people are logging in. Yeah. No questions asked. He is a human highlight reel. So the fact that he's out because he got hurt in a week 2 preseason game, it's ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely. And you look at the preseason, I mean, granted, the starters might play, 5 or 6 quarters out of those 4 games completely. So out of 16 quarters, they might play 4 or 5. So you can't really detract too much because the preseason is more about filling out your roster, filling out who you're going to have on your special teams, the last couple of rookies or free agents you want to hang on to your team, sign to the practice squad, whatever. That's kind of what the preseason's for because nobody's going to show up to the games, and we've seen that in our local team in the Panthers. You'll have the Steelers, your Steelers versus my Panthers in a week 4 preseason game, and maybe 25,000 people were there, and probably 15,000 of them were Steelers fans.
I'm about to say over half will be the Steelers fans.
Yeah, I mean, it was terrible. But the preseason's a little bit too long. But on Thursdays, if you look at it this way, if somebody gets a concussion the week before, they are not going to let them back on the field that Thursday due to concussion protocol.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is that let me ask you this, because I happened to be out and about last night and got to watch a portion of the Houston. I came back home and I watched a portion of the Boise State New Mexico game. That game was hands down a better game than anything the NFL's ever produced on a Thursday night.
Oh yeah. And people say, well, yeah, it's the best athletes in the NFL, and they are supposedly evenly matched up, depending on salary cap or whatever. But any given college night, even if it's a lower level, like you were just saying, Boise State, traditionally exciting. New Mexico, normally in a bowl every year. So, I mean, that type of stuff where it's an in-conference type matchup, it's mid-major versus mid-major. And even like last week, we had Louisville and Lamar Jackson, Heisman winner, versus my lowly North Carolina Tar Heels, who are now 0-2. The Tar Heels were like a 10-point dog, and, I mean, they ended up covering because I think they lost by 12, but we were with them the whole time. And it made it more exciting because I was thinking it was going to be like a 30-point blowout, to be perfectly honest. But college has been so much better.
R.I.P. Larry Fedora's career. Okay, he's done after this year. Anyway.
Sadly, his recruiting classes are still good. But when you give up 80% of your starting offense, 80% of your starting offense, most in FBS, by the way, it's going to be tough to rebound. So, yeah, tough to rebound after a big loss like that.
Yeah, and that's my thing. And shout out to the at Belt Bowl on Twitter when they said we got breaking news: college football greater than NFL. It's true so far this year.
And if you want really a fantastic Twitter account, go follow the Belt Bowl, for God's sake. So good, and they're good about interacting with their fans too. We've had a couple of little back and forths with them. They're always fun. So shout out to those guys. So I have a possible solution for you, Cody, on this NFL stuff. What if you do 2 Monday night games, and you get rid of Thursday games altogether, maybe with the exception of Thanksgiving, but 2 Monday night games? And do you think the money's there, or would they rather have another standalone game on Thursday?
Well, here's the thing. I like the opening night Thursday game with whoever they pick because it's the first game, everyone's fresh. Mm-hmm. And I love the Thanksgiving games because that's tradition. Hands down, some of the best. Right. That's the best day to watch football. Unless they get the Monday night games off of ESPN, they need to stick to one because that coverage is, and I'm sorry, but Chris Collinsworth, when he's covering games, I'd rather have him any day than John Gruden.
Really? Wow.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's a little bit of a hot take. So anyways, but so here's my thing with that though, is Monday night games traditionally start 8:30 p.m. on the East Coast and end by midnight if everything goes well. And, that's a typical schedule for a lot of people. Most people are going to be able to stay up for most of that, especially if it's a team that they like. And if they go to 2, they're going to have to start the first game on the East Coast around 6:30, and then your second game will be at 9:30 and end at 1. Obviously, that'll probably be a West Coast game, but you're going to lose a lot of viewers. You're going to lose a lot of ad revenue because you're losing those viewers. And it's just, I don't think the money is right to make 2 Monday night games. Like, in theory, it sounds good because it's like a back-to-back doubleheader on like a Sunday night. Your 4:30 game, then your 7:30 game. But it's just, I don't think that's the way to go. Plus, there's so many other options on a Monday night with your sitcoms, your dramas, and everything that actually you might want to tune into besides football for once.
Yeah, and my thing is that, and if you ever watched the Concussion movie with Will Smith, that the line in there that speaks the most truth is that the NFL owns Sunday.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm not okay with any games on Thursday because if they're wanting to make money, it's a stupid business decision. But I'm okay with one Monday night game because that's been tradition for so many years.
Yep.
And the NFL owns Sunday. That's how I feel about it. That's how it should stick. You can fit every single game when you need to, and you always have that one more late game at night for the Sunday showcase. Don't change it if it's not broke.
No, I'm in complete agreement there. So let's talk about our local team, the Carolina Panthers. I think you were able to tune in a little bit and watch that. Cam Newton.
I watched the whole game.
Oh, good for you! Congratulations. So let's talk about that for a quick second. Defense, really good. Guess who has them in their fantasy team? This guy. And
I got him in my money team. So
okay, there you go. Ours is free, unfortunately. So the Panthers defense looks good, and we knew that they would. They added Julius Peppers. He probably has a couple of decent years left in him. He's not the monster he once was, but a fantastic piece to have. What you got there? I got a stop signal.
This is his last year, man. He's got no more gas left.
Okay. But, I mean, he's there to be a locker room leader just as much as he is to get sacks, I think, this year. I think the Panthers have the absolute best linebacking core in the league. You have Kuechly, Thomas Davis, and Shaq Thompson. If you have Shaq Thompson coming off the bench, first, second round type pick, who's a freaking monster, then that's not a bad problem to have. Secondary has been shored up a little bit. D-line's always solid. But I like the Panthers' chances if they can keep teams under 20. Because Cam Newton looked rusty.
I don't even know if rusty's the word for it. I mean, first off, they went up against we'll go ahead and say it. The 49ers, I mean, they're nobody in my book. They're on the West Coast, and they only scored a field goal. So that's my thing. For you, the Panthers go as far as their defense goes.
Okay.
Because to this day, Cam Newton is not a quarterback. Cam Newton is an athlete, but Cam Newton is not a quarterback.
Now, the reason I hesitate to say he was extremely rusty, because in his first 5 years in the league, where has his miss always been? High. Where were all his misses this week? High. It's like he doesn't transfer his weight to his front foot. He stays on his back foot and just tries to gunsling it, and his accuracy is not amazing. Now, he did have like a 60% completion rate on Sunday, which I thought was okay considering how he started the first half. I think he was like 6 for 7 in the second half with a touchdown. But the throw that really stuck out to me is he had tight end Ed Dixon wide open in a sea of green, no 49er anywhere near him. He overshot him by 10 yards. 10 yards.
Here's my thing, since we're talking stats, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Cam Newton went 14 for 25, 171 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns and an interception, okay?
Yep.
Brian Hoyer, who had he went 24 for 35 for 193 yards with just 1 interception. So
all right, hold on. Brian Hoyer, here's if we're going stats, I got stats. Only 2 of his like 3 of his 35 passes traveled more than 10 total yards. Everything was dink, dunk, swing pass, game manager. He has no arm.
Well, he had more yards than Cam.
Yeah, and 10 more completions and only 20 more yards.
Face it.
Do the math.
I'm doing the math. Chill, man. But my thing is the Panthers didn't play anybody.
Okay.
I mean, a good high school team could go out and beat the San Francisco 49ers right now. Okay? To me, the 49ers are the worst football team in the NFL. And they're going to remain that way.
Okay. I mean, now if they had
is that a hot take? Because you gave me a little face there.
The Browns are still out there.
No, sir. They're good.
You like the rookie quarterback? You like that new coach?
I like their defense too. Their defense is stout.
Okay. But yeah, Brian Hoyer, not exactly a gunslinger, but what if Colin Kaepernick were the starter for the 49ers? Moving on.
Oh God, good leadway. Where are we going now, man?
Whew. God, that was good. Okay.
R.I.P. his career.
So, all right. We got a couple minutes. It's only 8:45. We got about 20 minutes left on the pod.
We got like 15, man. Chill.
No, come on, man. Come on. So, Colin Kaepernick, is he being blackballed?
No.
Really?
Yes, he's not. No, it's ridiculous.
That was surprising. No, I was ready to get back on the Jamele Hill train with this one. That surprises me coming from you because, in all honesty, I read a story the other day from the from the Philadelphia Eagles owner, and he has received an award for being the most socially proactive owner in the league, or something of that nature. I can't remember the exact name of the award. But he said he would not sign Colin Kaepernick because he did not like, quote, his charade or why he's doing it. He thinks Kaepernick's doing it for attention and not for the overall good. He pointed out other players that he has owned in the past that has stood up for social rights and activism, but did it for what he thought were better reasons. He thinks Colin Kaepernick is more of a show pony of sorts, instead of an actual social activist. What do you say about those words from the Eagles owner?
I agree. I agree for the most part.
Choked on my water there.
Well, because here's the thing. We have, as you know, I have no problem with doing anything like that during the national anthem. I have no problem with it.
Right.
That's no secret. You cannot go around here and parade that you. Now he's done great stuff, from what I've heard. He's raised money for communities. From what I hear, he's a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
The way he brought the attention on himself, I feel like he could have done it a better way. And that being said, when you only win 2 out of your last 20 football games with like a % completion rating,
yeah,
why would I sign you? You're not a distraction to me. If I'm an owner, you're not a distraction to me, because I don't care what you do. You do what makes you feel better and what you feel led to do.
Right.
Team and lose. It's not going to happen. Again, just like Cam Newton, Colin Kaepernick is an athlete. He is not a quarterback.
I will agree 90% with that. Do I think that some of these more elderly, old school white owners are looking at him and are scared to death of him due to what type of publicity, whether bad or good, they could bring to his team? Yes, absolutely. If he were to lay low for a little while, get back in shape, because even last year we saw the dude looked like he had dropped like 30 pounds of muscle. He was a twig. Like when he came in the league, he was athletic, he was stout, he was still fast, but the dude looked like he had dropped a lot of weight and didn't look like the same player as when he came in the league. Now, I don't know if that was to his own accord or if there was a health issue there. I'm not sure, but no, he's not the same player that he was. And do I think if he wanted, could he be a backup? Yes, absolutely. He has the talent to be a backup. Do I think he could start for probably 5-6 teams in the NFL right now? Probably. 49ers being one of them, sadly.
I mean, yeah, but besides them, who else? And they're not going to resign him because they just let him go.
But he has a somewhat of a proven track record to have, spouts of actually being good. And everybody's looking at Andy Dalton after the last 2 games, wanting to get rid of the old Red Rocket, and he's only had 2 bad games. So, I mean, we have to look at it fairly too. Do I think Kaepernick should be a starter in the NFL right now because he's a bad player? No, I don't think he should be a starter in the NFL. Do I think that his social activism scares a lot of older, white, old school owners? Absolutely. And they would be scared of how to handle him, the situation, the team, and the locker room, I think, just in general.
You mean to tell me you don't think the Cincinnati Bengals would hire him, even though they got Pac-Man Jones firing up everybody and Vontaze Burfict laying everybody out for no reason, and then you got Jerry Jones who signed Greg Hardy 4 years ago?
He would be like an angel. That being, I mean, look, I don't know. People don't like to mix stuff like that, and whenever you make a stand like that, like Burfict and Ed Hardy, they're not over there sitting during the national anthem. They made mistakes, but they didn't do something that would, quote, I guess, offend America in a sense, or their viewing audience.
So let me ask you this. An activist, which I do agree Colin Kaepernick is, he's an activist.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to for me. That's when it comes down to it, when I look at it that way, it means that you are not good enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. And out here working out first, and this is something I heard on the television the other day, and I think you'll like it. And it's something me and my wife talked about, but We haven't heard from Kaepernick. We got Spike Lee going to form some sort of protest at NFL headquarters.
And whoever made the flyer spelled his name wrong, and it was amazing.
That too, but we have not heard him speak. The only time we heard him speak is his last season in San Francisco, when every time they interviewed him, he said what he was standing up for, which is fine. Again, I agree with it. National anthem shouldn't be played at sporting events, but if you can't call it a black ball, you just can't do it.
All right, there we go. You're back. Sorry. I lost you there for another second. That was my bad, I think, on this end. But so that will pretty much conclude the NFL talk. But quickly, we're seeing a rise, and we'll just hit on this real quick, a rise in what I like to call hot take journalism. And that is taking over more so than your established beat writers, your established journalists with actual journalism degrees. And one of the main outlets right now that are really successful, we saw like Deadspin back in the day, which they were more gossip. They weren't necessarily trying to be cute. They were just trying to create nonsense. But Barstool Sports now, you see these dudes with their own radio show. You see them all over the big networks. And now you actually see them with ESPN, and with the way ESPN is trending with the Stephen A. Smiths, formerly with the Skip Baylesses, and that type of thing. I think you're going to see this is the trend moving forward with sports journalism. It doesn't have to be smart as long as it's clever, if that makes sense.
And I agree wholeheartedly. Again, going back to the ESPN thing, they always – what I liked is that when I'm watching NBC, I'll go ahead and say it, they don't show the people on the sideline. ESPN is going to zoom in on them. That's the part – take politics out of it. Mm-hmm. The people who are there to watch it, they don't care. To me, when we're watching football on Sunday, that's my escape from the rest of the world. I don't care about anything else. And I think that's what Barstool is trying to counter on. It's like, you know what? You need to escape from your day. I'm going to throw you some BS that's probably true, but I'm also going to make you laugh with it.
It's like half The Onion, half ESPN. It's a weird freaking hybrid of those two entities. And look at my coverage on Wrestling Inc. For any of you watching there that follow me on there. I try to use my limited wit and snarcissism. See what I did there? Snarcissism. On the Wrestling Inc.
You put yourself
Twitter handle. Yeah, I know. So the way I look at it is you want to be entertaining yet factual, whereas Barstool focuses more on the entertaining, whereas I provide straight ahead coverage, but yet try to make that coverage fun for the rest of the people. And it's just not like this person is facing this person. This is what's happening right now. And if you look at my live coverage for NXT, I throw some puns in there. I throw some jokes in there. It's very subtle, but when people find them and they tweet me about them or they shoot me a DM and like, oh, good line in there, so-and-so. It makes you feel good because you think you came up with something clever, but do you really want to focus on that and get away with the facts? Do you want to do fake news? Or do you want to be, do you want to be straight ahead, but yet entertaining at the same time? It's a super fine balance that I think media outlets need to find.
Yeah, and I think Barstool does a fine job. I really do. They'll have their stories to where it's just a straight headline. You go in there, there's some crap talking within the article, right, but you know what you're there to get. And then they have their other snarky stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think they walk the line perfectly.
Yeah.
And mix everything together. And it's just not something you get anywhere else. Mostly, you talked about Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. Even with Skip Bayless going to Fox and doing his thing over there, and still was, Stephen A. at ESPN. I don't care about two guys yelling at each other.
No.
I'd rather read an article that talks crap about somebody than to hear you yell at somebody for no reason. And even their podcast, I made sure I previewed the show. I mean, it's Bill Simmons-esque to me because he's one of my favorites, to where he's going to talk crap, but he's giving you the truth. And that's what it needs to be. And you can't really ask for anything else. And they, for the most part, I know everyone talks about politics and it sucks, but they, for the most part, they're going to keep you entertained. They're going to keep it factual. And if not, they're going to work some snark into it, and it's going to make you laugh anyway.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to another website that I follow. It's another wrestling/MMA site. They do a fantastic job. It's called Fightful.com. The editor there is Sean Ross Sapp, and they have their lead wrestling writer, Alex Palowski, who I think does a tremendous job with doing the lighthearted stories. And it's you want to have fun. Like, sports is meant to be fun. Wrestling is meant to be fun. It is meant to take you away from your daily grind. And if you can't have fun talking about it, like I'm having a ball right now. This is the first time that I've been let off a little bit of a leash, so to speak, on a podcast in quite a while. And that's not a shot at Wrestling Inc. by any means, but we have personalities that are the stars of the show. I was just kind of like a cog in the wheel a little bit. But it's super fun either way. But I think Fightful and Alex and Sean, they do a fantastic job over there. So you guys check them out as well as Wrestling Inc. But I think we'll see that trend continue in sports because guys like me and you appreciate that kind of humor. Yeah. So real quick, last couple things. Cleveland has a new number 23 in town, Cody. And that's the 23-win Cleveland Indians?
I'm as shocked as much as you are. And I tell you what, I mean, for a city who went through so much crap for so long, they have the NBA championship. They're very, very possibly going to have an MLB championship at the end of this year.
Yep.
And with the most expensive offensive line in the NFL and a quarterback who's young and ready to go with the Cleveland Browns.
Are you on the 3-year plan?
I mean, possibly, man. I really like everything they got going on in Believe Land. And, I mean, if you don't believe in what's going on up there, then I think you're insane.
Yeah, I mean, if you look up and down the roster, there are some familiar names. Edwin Encarnacion, Corey Kluber, that kind of thing. Let's see, who else do we have? Francisco Lindor, Frankie, that they call him. And he had the game tying double with 2 outs in the 9th last night that sent them to extras to get that 23rd win in the 10th inning. But it's very rare that you see, I think they actually have the record now for straight wins. I think there was another one at 26, but that also included a tie like many, many years ago. I think I heard that stat earlier today, but 23 straight wins is nothing to shake a stick at. And I'm really excited to see if they transition this into the postseason, which is not far away. Unfortunately, not joining the postseason this year, our Atlanta Braves, again. So, yeah, that disappointing season for the Barbs, as I like to call them at this point. So
yeah, pretty much.
And were you able to catch at least highlights of the Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight? What did you think about the spectacle and the feeling about their promos ahead of the fight? And maybe was it fixed just to get the money in there?
First of all, absolutely. In terms of it being fixed, it was a money grab. It was possibly the worst thing that ever could have happened in the history of ever. So
really,
I think it's awful.
Man, we should have led with this. Good God.
I mean, you got Canelo Alvarez, who's boxing tonight, who is actually a real boxer and should be promoted way more than what this crap was at the end of last month. Yeah. If anyone had winning this fight, they were absolutely insane. I mean,
right. All right. So here's the thing: is it went 10 rounds, and I think they did that by design because Mayweather did not want to have another snoozer like he did with Pacquiao, and he owed the fans something. But Mayweather and Pacquiao. McGregor came out, had some unorthodox looking punches, but landed more than anybody that's faced Floyd in a long, long time. I think it was 111 punches that he landed. And 10 rounds, McGregor is in MMA shape. He's in UFC shape. He's used to 3 to 5 minute rounds, only 3 or 5 rounds at that length. And you have boxing, which is 12 rounds. So I don't think he was in boxing shape. Mayweather, defensive fighter, in boxing shape, even though he may have lost a step on his jab a little bit, he had a plan going in, tire McGregor out, let him get his punches in, and then take him out once his legs get heavy.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, what was it? Was it fixed, or did they do a really good job of making it look real? Yes. Did McGregor look somewhat defensible as a boxer and probably will get another fight? I think he will against some scrub and get a win. But Mayweather collected another check, and both men are laughing all the way to the bank either way.
Yeah, so basically the headline from this fight is that Floyd Mayweather can pay his taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason he come out wearing what he was wearing. I think he was wearing some sort of lucha mask or some nonsense. It's like, oh, maybe the IRS won't see me.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Canelo versus
Triple G.
Yeah, Triple G is the only thing I can say because I can't pronounce his last name. But that would be a fight I would pay money to watch because it's real boxing, not this fake crap that they put on television.
It was a WWE fight, man. It really was, to an extent. But anyways, yeah, that's our quick thoughts on that. But so how did it feel to be back on the old Knockdown Sports Radio, Cody?
Couldn't be happier. Fantastic. Just to shoot the crap with you has just been the highlight.
And I think in our comment section that we will indeed probably get somebody saying hashtag stick to sports. But we had a few pop tops, which was good. But everybody go check out Beast Sports Nutrition, promo code Orlando15. Show Orlando some love for being a sponsored athlete, which is super fantastic for that guy and has earned it. Does really hard work, stays in the gym all the time. I work with him personally. I know you've known him for a while too. So that's really cool stuff. Let Beast know that you heard about them on Knockdown Sports Radio. Until then, Cody, where can they find you on the social media devices?
They can find me at CRTEAGUE, CRT008 on the Twitter. It is political. It is sports. It is something I will probably make you mad with. Go follow your boy.
Exactly. As always, Knockdown_radio for me. I don't really use the personal account anymore. So come hang out with me there. Come hang out with me at Wrestling Inc. on Monday, Tuesdays, and pay-per-views. Now Wednesdays with NXT. I'll be doing a little Twitter interaction as well as part of the new restructuring of the Wrestling Inc. deal. So some fun stuff ahead for everybody. And hopefully we might can fit these in a little more often as our adult lives continue to unfurl. We'll see. But no, hope y'all enjoyed it. Hope you had fun. Give us a thumbs up on the YouTube video. Share the video. Like the video. Do whatever you can. We appreciate the support. Until next time, for Cody Teague, I am Chris Callicutt. Have a great evening, everybody.